I don't think the Blue Jays stand a chance. I know everybody's going to sit here and tell me, well, look what they did to the Yankees. The Yankees don't have enough depth in the lineup. I've said this many, many times. The Mariners do. The Mariners added Naylor in the offseason. They added a third baseman at the trade deadline that can hit for pop, even though he hasn't really hit that much in the playoffs. Julio Rodriguez is one of the best power hitters and young power hitters in baseball. And they have Cal Raleigh, who's up for an MVP, who's one of the best defensive players at his position since, you can argue Rodriguez. This is a good team. This is a team that is playing on all cylinders. They're not playing on one or two. They're playing on all 6 cylinders. And they're putting the ball in play. They're not just hitting for power. They're hitting for average. They can pitch. They got a great rotation. Their bullpen was one of the top 5 in the league this year. And they're consistent every game. And when you're consistent like this, and the Mariners manager should be up for manager of the year. He's had a sensational year, especially in the second half of the season. The turnaround that the Mariners had in the second half was sensational, and they always do. This team might be the only team that can challenge the Dodgers right now. We thought it was the Phillies and the Dodgers. The Phillies, we saw what the Dodgers and the Dodgers manhandled the Phillies. Even though it went to, 5 games?
4 games.
4 games. And that absolute debacle of, an error by the pitcher by Philadelphia that ended the series. The Dodgers are the best team in the playoffs. The Dodgers have been the best team in the league since the beginning of the season. They've been fighting injury after injury. Ohtani didn't pitch until the second half of the season. Now you have Sasaki in the bullpen who is untouchable. You can't even hit the guy. Honestly, they should stick Sasaki in the bullpen and leave him there. He should be the closer. Then they'll be almost impossible to beat. The Dodgers are the best team in baseball. It's not even close. Their roster from top to bottom, defensively, offensively. Their bullpen. Look at the bullpen arms they brought in. They brought in 3 closers from 3 different teams that could have been closers on 3 different teams this year. And they were hurt. Now they're healthy. How are they going to be beaten? And the Brewers have been the best team in the league all season long. They're one of the best young teams in baseball right now. Well deserved. This is the first NLCS they've been in how long?
2018. Where they also lost to the Dodgers.
This is a team in the Brewers that have a great future. Just not now. This Dodger team is destined to go on a run like the Yankees did in the 90s, where they could win 2 or 3 championships or win 3 out of the next 5 championships like the San Francisco Giants. They're that good. It's not fair. A lot of people are going to complain, and as Jabba says, every team can do it. Nick Goody says it too. Every team can do it. You want to defer money? You can defer money. Nobody said that you can't. But the Dodgers figured it out. Well, the Dodgers knew about it, and a lot of teams knew about it for years, just like Madden decided to use the shift. It's been around since the 60s and the 50s. Brought it into the league again and absolutely dominated with the Tampa Bay Rays for the years that he was there as the manager. And people were complaining and bitching. And what did baseball do? They banished it because nobody liked it, including yours truly. I didn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were like one of the biggest advocates against it.
I don't like it. But right now, if there's any team that could beat the Dodgers, it's the Mariners. You don't want to see the Blue Jays play the Dodgers.
Oh, God.
That's going to go 5 games. 4 games the best. 5 games the most. 4 games if the Dodgers completely dominate. Yamamoto has been sensational over the past year. When he came into the league, he was a deer in the headlights. He was up and down. The second half of the season when he came into the league, he was very good. The first half, he was horrible. Yep. I remember. He's figured it out. The Dodgers paid him a lot of money. And now next year, you have Ohtani, Sasaki, and Yamamoto, Blake Snell, and Glass now as 5 guys in your rotation. And that's not counting some of the youngsters that they have that they called up in their farm system.
Oh, yeah, one of them that just had Tommy John surgery, too.
That are pretty damn good, too. It's just a bag of riches. Am I surprised? Not at all. Am I upset? Absolutely. Am I going to predict that they're going to win a championship next year? If nobody or no team makes a huge run out of a bunch of players, I would say yes. I mean, and I want to hear, if the Mets played them in the first round, they would have beaten them. Stop it, guys. Stop it.
The Mets were lucky to just even squeak in.
Why? Because the Mets were 5-1 against them this year?
Yeah, and the Brewers were 6-0 against them this year.
6-0 against them. The Brewers were the best team in the league all season long. They dominated teams all season long. They had one bad skid where out of 11 games, they lost 8 or 7 of them.
Yeah, early August, I think. Then the Padres, tied them in the division at one point, and there was a chance that they pulled ahead for a little bit. Then they went cold, and obviously the Dodgers were fine after that.
It's just, honestly, if you're a baseball fan, you want to see the Mariners, you want to see the Dodgers, you want to see Cal Raleigh versus Shohei Ohtani, 2 guys that are up for MVPs in respectable conferences, respectable, standings from the National League and American League.
Yeah, and you also look at a team that's very complete, too, with the Mariners. Like you said, they can do some of the things pitching-wise that the Dodgers can do when it comes to their rotation once it gets healthy, too. George Kirby, you were talking about, is one of the best pitchers we've seen recently in elimination games, and obviously pitched very well against the Tigers. Didn't out-duel Skubal, but pitched just as well and kept them in that game, and obviously they won in extra innings. Their best pitcher from the regular season was hurt all year, or hurt at the end of the year, and Brian Wu. He hasn't even pitched yet. And now with the Mariners having a 2-0 lead in this series, they can even be more cautious with him and don't have to bring him in anywhere. You have Logan Gilbert. You have, like you said, a good bullpen, top 5 in the second half of the season, top 10 in baseball bullpen, and finally have the lineup depth to compensate for that too. And also 2 guys that played for Arizona that know the Dodgers with Suarez and with Naylor, guys that have experience against them, get the scouting reports on them. The problem with the Brewers in this series is they just haven't been able to get to the Dodgers' weakest part, which has been their bullpen throughout the year. They've been rocky. Like you said, the closers they brought in have been better, but not great overall this season. A lot of them had 4+ ERAs. A lot of them had injury issues. Will they be able to recover that same way is another question. Sasaki, they decided to be creative with it, transform him into a closer. It's been working for them so far. And now you look at a team like the Dodgers having full power, that's going to be hard to stop. Seattle, though, is the only thing that can make it sense because they have the power, they have the ability to get on base the way they do. And you talk about Cal Raleigh, he had 2 home runs, but he's also been getting on base too. In the playoffs, in the first series, I think he was hitting close to 500. He only had the 1 home run. And Julio Rodriguez has been taking off in the second half of the season. He did this 2 years ago, was probably, if it wasn't for Ohtani that year, probably a runner-up for MVP that year. And it's just crazy how good they are. You're right, the Blue Jays are kind of fluky, and it's kind of catching up to them. And their pitching is all old outside of Gossman, and they're really suffering.
You know what's interesting about the Mariners? I remember the Mariners teams in the 2000s, the early 2000s, even the 90s. And I remember the 95 Seattle Mariners when Jay Buhner and Ken Griffey Jr. and Edgar Martinez and Randy Johnson. Remember those teams where they were so fun to watch, and they could never beat the Yankees. They could never get over the hump. They beat the Yankees one time in those runs, and I think that was 95 when they beat the Yankees.
Yeah, and then they lost to Cleveland, I think.
Right. They could never get over the hump. This team has been around forever, and they could never win a World Series. And in 2001, remember when they won, I think it was 116 games or something like that?
Regular season record.
And they lost in, what was it, in the ALCS against the Yankees.
Against the Yankees, and before the Yankees lost it against the Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks, I remember that, yep. Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling, who, by the way, Jabba can't stand.
We know.
Yes, he didn't want me to mention him in that whole, argument of King of the Hill.
And Kurt Schilling is still only his second most hated Red Sox.
Here's the facts, guys. If the Mariners have a chance to win over the last 30 years, this is the year. And the reason why is nobody expected them to be here. Nobody. In the 90s, they had one of the loudest managers in all of baseball. Lou Piniella was a vicious guy that kicked dirt at the umpires, throwing bases. I mean, he was the Tommy Lasorda of the 90s. Remember that? Tommy Lasorda was more of the 80s guy. He was known in the 80s. He was with the Dodgers in the 90s, but he wasn't, his best years as a manager was in the 80s. When you look at Lou Piniella had that gracefulness, that crazy personality, and he was known as a Yankee. If you remember, Lou Piniella played on those Yankee teams. He won a World Series with the Yankees. Mm-hmm. Reggie Jackson time. Reggie Jackson said Lou Piniella was one of the best teammates he's ever played with, by the way. But I will say this. Cal Raleigh deserves a little bit more credit than a lot of people give him. Aaron Judge has had a sensational year. He has been sensational. I don't know if Raleigh wins it because of how great of a year. I mean, this is an all-time great year for Aaron Judge. I mean, if you compare Aaron Judge's year, statistical, with Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, I mean, you can compare his numbers to those guys. They're some of the best seasons they've had are comparable to Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge hit over 50 home runs. He hit over 330. I mean, his on-base percentage was the best in the league. He was in 1 and 2 of the statistics, and all the big statistics except maybe one. Raleigh is a switch-hitting catcher. He's defensively sound. He's the best catcher in baseball, all that other stuff. The only reason he might lose is just because he's playing in the same conference, in the same American League as the best player in the world in Aaron Judge.
We've seen this the last 5 years, really, too. We've seen like 5 of like the greatest American League MVP seasons between the one Judge had in 2022, Ohtani having it in 21, and I know you were advocating for Vlad to win it that year, too. He had an unbelievable year. And then what was lost in that year, too, was Salvador Perez had like 48 home runs in that year as well. So
home runs is, to me, as much as you love it and you love to watch it, it's not as big as when you look at a batting average, 330. You're known as a power hitter, and your on-base percentage is one of the great. It's Barry Bonds-like,
right.
Okay? Barry Bonds didn't have a better on-base percentage than Aaron Judge did this year. Mm-hmm. Think about that. And nobody could walk around or pitch around him because he's so long. Right. Barry Bonds is not as long as Aaron Judge. Barry Bonds, at best, is 6'1", 6'2". This man's 6'8". So you couldn't pitch around this guy. He has no weaknesses up at the plate. Some people say you pitch high against him. You're better off trying to pitch high and inside to him. They tried to do that against him, and he smacked it, 375 feet
I was
off the pole.
The Blue Jays home run that he had, and then some of the home runs he was having at the end of the year, where the team's trying to do that kind of thing to him. It used to be you got him with the slider that was sweeping away. You saw Cleveland do that a lot. You saw the Astros do that a lot, and he's even adjusted to that now too. And what makes it especially hard is because he's 6'8", he has a much bigger strike zone than everyone else too.
It's crazy. It's not fair. But Raleigh needs a little bit more credit, and credit is due. He's going to get a lot of first-place votes for MVP. I don't know if they're going to give it to him because of the great season Aaron Judge had and the playoffs that he had.
Yeah,
I mean, he hit 500 in the playoffs. I mean, it's ridiculous. Everybody said he's not a playoff player. Well, I think they're going to zipper their lips on that one.
Yeah. I want to give, before we move on, I want to give Raleigh some credit for something this series that I think makes a big difference when it comes to what you saw from the Blue Jays versus what you saw with the Blue Jays against the Yankees, too. Because the Blue Jays were a team that did not strike out a lot in the offseason. And obviously, they were able to make that kind of thing work against the Yankees. But Seattle, the way the pitchers have either pitch sequence or Cal Raleigh has called the game to make it where they either ground out or they're getting all these pop-ups right away early in the inning and not forcing them to try to pitch the strikeout. These are guys that can pitch the strikeout too. Gilbert, Castillo, etc. They can all strike guys out, but they're not doing that kind of thing, and they're making it easier where they're not having all these crazy jams either. The one run the Blue Jays got in Game 1 was a leadoff home run, and that was it. That's Cal Raleigh and the analytics department, whoever it is, deserves a lot of credit for that.